Deep in the woods, a monstrous figure feasted. Blood dripped from its hairy hands. The air reeked of death, a mix of iron and decay. Bigfoot, a creature of myth and legend, tore into the flesh of a hiker, its growls echoing through the silent trees. Chunks of flesh flew, painting the forest floor crimson. The hiker's backpack lay open nearby, its contents scattered and useless. The creature paused, sniffing the air, its eyes two black pits scanning the woods. It let out a guttural roar, a primal sound that sent chills down the spine. Dale, a seasoned hunter, froze. The forest around him was eerily silent, the usual sounds of rustling leaves and distant animal calls absent. It was as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for what would happen next. He clutched his rifle, his breath catching in his throat. The weight of the weapon was familiar, yet it felt heavier now, burdened with the gravity of the situation. He had heard the stories, dismissed them as folklore. Tales of a monstrous creature lurking in the depths of the forest, preying on the unsuspecting. He had always thought they were just that, stories. Now, staring at the scene before him, disbelief warred with horror. The stories were true, and the creature was real, standing not 20 feet away from him. Bigfoot, real and deadly, was tearing apart a human being. The sight was gruesome, blood and gore splattering the forest floor. Dale's finger tightened on the trigger. His mind raced, weighing his options. He had to act, but the consequences of his actions were unknown. He had to do something, stop this monster. The creature was a threat, not just to him, but to anyone who ventured into these woods. But what if the legends were true? What if killing this creature unleashed something far worse? The thought gnawed at him, adding to his hesitation. What if killing this creature unleashed something far worse? The forest had its secrets, and he was on the brink of uncovering one of its darkest. The creature, oblivious to the danger, continued its gruesome meal, its teeth tearing through flesh and bone. The sound was sickening, a reminder of the brutality of nature. Dale took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He had faced danger before, but nothing like this. This was a test of his resolve, his courage. This was not the time for doubt, not with a life at stake, even if that life was already fading fast. He had to make a decision, and he had to make it now. The fate of the forest, and perhaps much more, rested on his shoulders. The gunshot shattered the silence, echoing through the dense forest like a thunderclap. The bullet, a perfect shot, caught Bigfoot in the chest, piercing through fur and flesh with deadly precision. The creature roared, a sound filled with pain and rage, reverberating through the trees and sending birds scattering into the sky. It stumbled, its massive body swaying before crashing to the ground with a sickening thud that seemed to shake the very earth beneath it. Silence descended once more, heavy and absolute, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Dale lowered his rifle, his ears ringing from the gunshot, the acrid smell of gunpowder still lingering in the air. He cautiously approached the fallen beast, his heart still hammering in his chest, each step feeling heavier than the last. As he drew closer, a wave of nausea washed over him, the reality of what he had done sinking in. The smell was overwhelming, the carnage unbearable, blood soaking into the forest floor and staining the leaves. He stared down at the creature, its chest still rising and falling with ragged breaths, each one Section 4, Rise of the Undead. The hiker, or what was left of him, twitched. Dale watched in horror as the mangled body jerked and spasmed. The hiker's eyes, glazed over in death, snapped open, burning with an unholy light. The creature rose, its flesh hanging loosely from its bones. It lunged at Dale, its teeth bared in a silent snarl. Dale stumbled back, his foot catching on a root. He fell, his rifle clattering away, useless in the face of this new terror. This was no ordinary corpse. This was something different, something monstrous, brought to life by the very creature he had just killed. Section 5, No Escape. Dale scrambled back, fear gripping his throat. He watched in terror as the undead hiker was joined by another, then another. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat a deafening drum in the eerie silence of the forest. The once familiar trails now seemed like a labyrinth of nightmares, each shadow concealing a potential threat. The forest, once peaceful and serene, was now alive with the moans of the undead. The trees, which had once provided solace and shade, now seemed to close in on him, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out to ensnare him. The ground beneath his feet felt unstable, as if the very earth was rejecting the horror that had been unleashed upon it. The air grew thick with the stench of decay, a suffocating reminder of the horror that had been unleashed. Each breath was a struggle, the foul odor burning his lungs and making his eyes water. The once vibrant forest was now a graveyard littered with the remnants of a world that had been turned upside down. Dale knew with a sinking feeling in his gut that this was only the beginning. The realization hit him like a punch to the stomach, leaving him gasping for air. He had to find a way out, but every direction seemed fraught with danger. The forest, which had once been his sanctuary, was now a prison. The apocalypse had begun. He had to get out of the woods, warn the others. But the path ahead was unclear, and the sounds of the undead were growing louder. Each step he took felt like a gamble, a desperate bid for survival in a world gone mad. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, urging him to move faster. But where do you run when the dead are rising everywhere?